Hey, Radiant Souls, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome for the first time. My name is Heather, and I am really happy that you're here spending some time with me today. We're going to talk about and explore the energy forecast for the month of April 2025. And if you're new to these forecasts, let me just explain the order of things in the layout for the video. So we're going to have the theme, which I'll talk about in just a second. Then I bring through some channeled messages from my guides. Then we discuss it a little bit. I unpack some of what I was shown even before the channeling came through. I often get some information ahead of that, and I'll share that with you. Then we look at the frequency art that I channeled in support of the message, and that art helps all of us tune into the energy for the month and navigate it a little bit better. Then we have an affirmation that we will use throughout the month and some takeaways at the end of that. So the theme for the month of April 2025 is kinesis, the production of motion, or we can just bottom line it and say motion itself. So start thinking as we go into the channeling in just a minute. Where have things been stuck for you? Where has it been gummed up? When I initially was seeing this theme, it was really actually very early in March that I got the nudge to bring this through for April, and I kept seeing gears. And the fact that the gears were not turning very smoothly. They were getting a little bit stuck. All the little toothy edges were getting stuck, and they would eventually click forward, but it took some effort. And then I would see the gears being kind of pulled apart, so there was more space in there, more room for things to get motion and movement, kinesis. So let's get to the channeled message, see what my team of guides have to say about this, and I'll be back at the end of that to discuss it a little bit more. There's some other things that I want to make sure, some points that we hit together so I can send you off into the month as prepared as you can be for the energy coming forward. So let's get into the channel message, and I'll see you in just a minute. Enjoy. Hello, bright and beautiful beings. We are delighted to speak with you today on the topic of kinesis. It is not a word that perhaps you use with great regularity in your space and time, but we like it as an example of an elevated aspect of motion, and that is really the theme that we would speak on today. There are things coming into alignment in your space-time reality that allow for support and call for higher aligned actions within yourself, within your families, your friend groups, your communities, your world. Many of you have felt an itchiness, you have felt an unease, you have felt out of sorts in some ways, wondering what is it I could do, what should I do, how do I move forward, where is my purpose, what is my purpose, why am I here, what can I do? And we feel that as the month progresses, many of you will start to have a greater awareness of your next steps. For it is never the entire map that reveals itself for you. And sometimes when that is your expectation, you essentially psych yourself out of receiving information. So we would encourage you to look just for the next step. And rather than look for it, what we truly mean is feel that next step for yourself. Perhaps it is reading a book, perhaps it is having a conversation, perhaps it is taking a class, perhaps it is taking rest and seeing that as an aligned action to renew and restore your spirit. But many different ideas will begin to come to you in the month of April in a way that feels almost a little too quickened. For you will not be able to receive one thought without another coming in. So we want you also to, as you are preparing for motion, kinesis, being very centered and very steadied in the way that you are experiencing anything that comes up in the next few weeks for you. To allow for your visioning of that steadfast state of being, we would like you to imagine a pyramid, and how sturdy and steady that structure is with its three sides. And in our example, we would show that to you as three equal sides of measurement. And each of those three sides has a component of action that we would invite you to consider. The first is aspire. When you first think of an idea, it is an aspiration. It is a thought floating in the ethers that has come your way that you have become resonant with and can grab it almost as if you were reaching into a stream and grabbing a fish. It may not be yours to act on, but it is yours to invite, query, and study and reflection. The second side of this action pyramid or the action triangle is inspire. And that is when you start to feel into the thought that was presented to you. You become more resonant with it. Your frequency begins to align and match in a way that allows you to magnetize that into your energy body. It comes in you in the inspire phase. You may begin speaking about it to yourself. You may begin dreaming about it. You may begin speaking to others about it in this stage as well. It becomes more palpable. It gains some momentum. It becomes more exciting. And the third phase of this triangle of action, of sturdy and steadfast action, is transpire, when something has finally occurred or it has been put into motion. So if you can imagine any idea that comes your way, any dream that you have, any goal that sits with you, put it into the structure of this triangle, of this pyramid. And identify for yourselves, where are the specific components? Am I in the aspire phase? And maybe it is time for me just to sit with it, invite it in, try it on, see if I want to go further with it. Just because an idea comes to you does not mean you need to take action on it. See if it is aligned to you, to your goals, to your dreams, to your values, to who you are as a soul and what it is that you want. If it is for you, move it or see and experience, examine if it is in the inspire phase of the triangle. And then allow that excitement to bubble up within you. Allow that excitement to build and gain momentum for yourselves. And it is that momentum that will carry you through to the action. Many of you try to go from just having the idea to putting it into action, and it feels out of sorts. It feels unsteady. It feels like you get stuck and stagnant because you have not gone through the inspire phase, where you allow your frequency to match the frequency of that which you desire. And then in the transpire phase, that is one in which you can sit in continual reflection. The actions that are being taken, examine, are they matching you? Have they fallen out of resonance? If so, stop the action. It no longer fits you, and that is fine. But having that framework of examining things, particularly in the weeks that follow, but this is something you may take with you to use at any time, can help you in your discernment of what is it that I should act upon? When should I act upon it? Is it my purpose? Is it a desire? Is it just a passing interest? Is this a phase? Is something already in motion for this and I'm now being called to develop it further? Allow yourself to sit in that study of yourself in the pyramid structure. And as you do that, you will begin to feel the energy coiling down into these beautiful cords that strengthen and weave a tapestry into your energy body, allowing things to feel stronger, allowing your decisions to feel more embodied, allowing your footsteps to feel lighter upon the path that you walk. Feeling into the sacred aligned action, kinesis. Be blessed as you walk through these weeks, dear friends, and thank you for receiving our transmission. Be blessed. Kinesis. I agree with the team. It's not a word that we typically throw around in casual conversation. We can say kinetic often, but kinesis has this almost weight to it in the way that I feel the team is sharing it. So a production of motion or setting something into motion, being in motion. And I want to talk about the pyramid that they said, because what's interesting is And if you're not new here, you know that my team likes wordplay and they like to dissect different words. So if you think of aspire, inspire, transpire, spire at the end, spire, can mean to breathe into. But the way they were showing it to me was a spire, like on the top of a building, which can be a triangle shape or a cone. But they were showing a triangle. So like the capstone of a tall building. And using that triangle, because if you think even in the human body, if we stand with our legs farther apart and we have a wide stance, that gives us stability. So they're kind of saying, feel into that for yourselves. And then in any area of your life, and I want to dive into that a little bit more as well, because they were showing me how this also connects into the planetary alignment that we have at the end of March right now. But anything that you have going on in your life, thinking of which phase it's in, aspire, that's really something I may want in the future. It's a little farther back than inspire. It's just kind of starting to come into your peripheral vision, if you will. And then inspire is that would be really fun to bring that through. I think I could call this person and set that up, or I could research that, or I could take this class, and you start to get a little bit of the ingredients coming in. And then transpire is when you really start to transmit it, put it in motion, transportation. It's on its way, or it has occurred. And that's kind of the cycle of kinesis that they wanted to share with us. So when we look at that planetary alignment, and I've heard others discussing the planets that are aligned. I'm not an astrologer. I don't have that innate, inherent knowledge of what all that means, but I do have some notes that I researched a little bit before the call, because the team was saying, use this aspire pyramid as you are considering the consciousness or the characteristics of the planets that are aligning, because all of that is at play in regards to what energy is ripe or ready for us to review for ourselves. And tapping into the energy of the community, and those of you watching and in conversations that I've heard, there are a lot of us feeling some sleepless nights, some antsiness, a little spiciness for ourselves. And we have that from time to time, but it seems to be very pronounced right now. And again, everything is frequency, everything is energy. So if you're experiencing that, this can help you with that too. This can help you be that framework where you can pin things down, or at least give them structure in the way that you experience them and think about them. So if we go to the planets that are aligned, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and Neptune, all kind of aligned right now in the sky. And if you look at what each of those represent, the team was saying, consider for yourself what you can put in motion, or what has been stagnant that you can now move into this pyramid of kinesis for yourselves. The sun is your public persona in some ways. It's your life force, your vitality, your energy, what you're putting forth. So if you have fallen off of your authenticity maybe, or you're looking to rebrand yourself. Sometimes, if we move to a new city, or we start a new community, a new class, we show up as a different aspect of ourselves. It's just ready. We slough off that skin and we renew ourselves. So stepping into that for yourself, if that feels aligned, and then looking at the pyramid structure for that. The moon, emotion, self-confidence, your inner self, how you're viewing yourself. If there's anything stagnant or stuck there, is there something you can move forward in that, in any reflections that you have, and then taking it back to the pyramid, aspire, inspire, transpire. Mercury, communication, because we all know that one, right? Mercury goes retrograde and everybody's just lets out a deep sigh of, great. When's it back normal again? And we can go on with things. But looking at your own communication with yourself, your thoughts, yes, technology in some regards, but they're saying there's only so much you can do with that. You can't really affect changes there necessarily unless you're in the tech industry, but communication with yourself. So anything you can, where you can trim the fat on that, you can be a little clearer in that. You can move something forward in a way where it felt stuck before. Go ahead and take action on that, considering that pyramid structure. Venus, relationship, love, beauty. I like to put art in here as well. So things that bring beauty to the world in that way. So if you're a creator, tapping into that, maybe starting a project, maybe taking a risk on something in that way. Saturn is, my team just said Saturn's like the fuddy-duddy of that, but it's self-discipline, it's responsibility. And what I was called to talk about here is I feel a lot of us are experiencing this in a way that we can renew our boundaries with ourselves. So where have you maybe betrayed a boundary with yourself? Not even looking at the boundaries that we may put in place for others or anything like that, but where have you not had enough self-discipline with yourself? Where have you slacked on your responsibility? Where can you kind of shore that up for yourselves as well? And then take that to the aspire, inspire, transpire pyramid. And then Neptune, spirituality, psychic stuff, mysticism, inspiration, all of that. If you're sitting on the fence about exploring that, or if a lot of us, I have a lot of conversations where people are feeling called to connect to higher dimensions, higher realms, things like that, looking for guidance to do that. If that's you and this feels like a time for you to take the aligned action, or at least put it in the framework of that pyramid and say, is it aspirational right now, or does it feel inspirational? Like I'm ready to bring those ingredients and get it going. So really looking at all those different aspects of our lives. Where can we move something forward? They were just showing me a chessboard. It doesn't have to be all the way to the end of something, but just taking the next step. Sometimes we forget, one step at a time. That is still action. It may not feel glamorous. It may not feel like it has that momentum, but it is one step at a time. And then you wait for the next nudge, or you go back to thinking of it in the pyramid. Where is it now in that structure? As far as the crystal that the energy of this was coming in to support or reinforce, or we can work with this crystal throughout the month to help us navigate this energy, it was kyanite. And I'll put a picture of it up on the screen. I meant to bring a piece in, but I didn't. Specifically the blue kyanite. And this really is good for, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but it's good for calming the nerves. It's good for encouraging sleep. It's good for helping dream recall. It's good for stopping people pleasing. So in my mind, those are all boundaries with ourselves. If we set ourselves up well with eating well in whatever way that looks for you, getting enough rest in whatever way that looks for you, you're having that discipline and that responsibility, going back to Saturn, for yourselves, and that gives you more empowerment and gives you more energy to take action on the other things. So using kyanite in that way can be really helpful. And then the animal that came through, this actually came through in a dream a few days ago, and it's the hummingbird. So in a lot of cultures, that is communication with spirit, with the other realms, with other dimensions. The way I saw it in the dream was a little maybe disturbing, or it had not a darker meaning, but I don't usually see it in this way. It was a hummingbird caught in a spider web. And she got herself freed in the dream. But that was the image that was presented first. And it was this feeling of where things have been stuck. And if you just take, and in the dream, she didn't flutter around because that would have gotten her more stuck. But she just kind of inch by inch. It almost looked like she was turning part puffer fish, where she was blowing herself up to make her energy bigger. So she got some distance in pushing the spider webs away. So I feel like that's us. That was a call out or a reminder for us to take up your own space in the world so that you can then take action. So if we look at the art for the month, kinesis, there's a lot of moving pieces, pun intended, in here. There's a lot of circle themes of maybe letting things spin, or I just got the image too of, when you have the spinning wheel on your computer, like it's been delayed and now it's time to move something forward. I also see a few pyramids in here, which if you have heard any conversations or seen the news, there are some possible discoveries of things being underneath the pyramids in Egypt, or I think it's just the middle pyramid in Egypt, related to like coil structures, conical structures, cones, spires, maybe. But what they've seen through some pretty sophisticated radar. So I kind of see elements of that in here as well, with the pyramids having circles under them in the top, and then circles on top of them on the bottom. And then there's two bigger kind of pyramids on the outskirts. And then it looks like building blocks of things moving around. That's just what I see here when I'm looking at it now. I always love to hear what you all see in the art as well. And if you would like to download a free digital copy of this, you can do that from my website. It's also available as a fine art print on paper, canvas, or metal. And these look really spectacular in person. It's just a really fun way to add some color to your space, add a reminder for you to take aligned action, be in a state of kinesis when it's right for you to do so. The affirmation for the month is, I am capable of taking aligned action in all areas of my life. Just taking that power back for ourselves. I am capable of taking aligned action in all areas of my life. The takeaway for the month is a little activity that the team was showing me, and I think it's pretty helpful. I may have used an aspect or version of this in another video, but it was coming up, so I'm going to share it with you. And it was in whatever sector or area of your life you want to consider. So let's say someone wants to work on communication. Imagine that you have gathered to you, so pulled in all of your energy related to communication, whether you feel there's something stuck there, there's something not working, whatever. And imagine that you go to the edge of a lake, the shore of a lake, and very slowly walk yourself into the lake until it's about shoulder height deep. That's a confusing phrase. You're in up to your shoulders. You're very safe, and it's a very mystical lake. However you want it to look. In my version, it's got this beautiful mystical forest all around the banks of it. And there's moonlight, and it's just beautiful. Everything's reflecting off the water. So you wade into the water and you sit in the energy of the theme that you're working with. So you sit with your energy as it relates to communication and honoring what comes up for you, whether it's a little bit of doubt, a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of self-judgment, self-recrimination, and then breathing that out and releasing that in a way in which you then experience all of that release, leaving the outside of your body as ripples in the water. And as it ripples out from you, you see those ripples going farther away from you. They get to the shore of the bank and they're absorbed and they're transmuted and they're healed. And then the water that comes back to you when it bounces back off the shore, that is now the purer state of your energy, and you're refreshed and renewed. So you can do that for just in general for you. You can do that specific to one of the themes we talked about or anything else that calls to you. But just standing in that meditation space, that reflection, and really feeling into that and the power of that. So that's all I have for the month of April. And if you have come to this after April, there may still be something here for you. There's often a lot of interesting messages and things that feel resonant to people, even though it isn't within the exact month that we talk about. And I also want to mention, if anybody wants to partner with me and come take a class with me, I'm hosting a class called The Sacred Alchemy of the Soul, and that starts in May. I'll put a link in the description box below. I'd love to have you join us. It's a 4-week live online class, but replays are available if you can't make the live classes. So I didn't want to forget to mention that. But thank you so much for spending some time with me. Let me know what you are all seeing out in the month of April as you're experiencing the world, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.